Welcome back, guys, to Triggered, my podcast where I have lots of different topics: health, mental health, fitness, different doctors on here, different type of characters. Today I'm doing a solo podcast about my water fast. I just completed a 7-day water fast. Yes, that's 7 days without eating any food, no flavor, no calories, zero. So I just wanted to kind of tell you what inspired me to do this, why I did it, how I did it, the struggles, the ups and downs, because it was probably one of the more challenging things I've ever done in my life. And I've done, competition prep several times, which is very, very challenging. This was even more challenging than that because you really have to stay focused and really have to stay dedicated and constantly depriving yourself of what you normally have every single day. So why did I do a water fast? Well, guys, I've had several things going on with me lately. I'm pretty obsessed with fitness. I'm pretty obsessed with health, being in shape and things like that. And as I approach my older years, I'm 37 now. I'm a mother of a 3-year-old daughter. And as I creep up closer and closer to the late 30s, I notice my metabolism's not as fast. I'm not always maintaining or getting to the weight that I want. So it was a little bit of the weight loss, but also I've always wondered how that could affect your body health-wise. So my little sister Grace actually inspired me. She was inspired, I think, by her boyfriend's relative who had done a 21-day water fast for health. I think he was actually trying to recover from an irritable bowel or Crohn's or some type of digestive issue. And 21 days he went without eating any food. No flavor, no calories, no food, just water and electrolytes. So apparently he had all these issues and he was able to literally reduce all of his problems in that period of time. So she became fascinated with it. She brought it to my attention. I've known about water fasts before. They talk about it in the Bible. There's people, even Christ did it, 40 days and 40 nights. And people have done 7 days, 3 days, 24 hours. There's lots of different fasting windows to do. Some people even do intermittent fasting, which is when you fast up until a certain amount of time and then you get an eating window during the day. So for instance, 16-8 is a big popular one, 18-6, 20-4. So for 20 hours you fast and then you get a 4-hour eating window. So this includes the hours that you're sleeping and everything like that. But apparently when I was doing the research and trying to figure out what would happen to my body, both metabolically, health-wise, energy-wise, and everything, I wanted to kind of be prepared for what I'm getting into. I was reading up on a process called autophagy, and AUTOPHAGY. Autophagy is a process that the body almost never gets to go into. Our human bodies are capable of it. Animals' bodies are capable of it. When they're basically fasting, when they're not eating, their body is able to go into a process where it starts to break down cell tissue that is damaged. So cells that are, not working anymore, they're not processing correctly, they're not growing, they're not changing, proliferating, whatever. They're either dead or dying or sick, mutated, whatever. They can turn into cancer cells. They can turn into autoimmune disorders. They can break down in the body, cause degenerative diseases. So as a nurse, I know a lot about degenerative diseases, and I've witnessed it in the hospital with many, many patients having a reduced quality of life. So I've always been fascinated on how to take care of the body to be on the preventative side of healthcare and make sure we don't have to deal with these very aggressive, very, very difficult and challenging diseases. So when I went in to do this research, I found out that autophagy happens as soon as 17 hours of fasting. So we obviously have 24 hours in a day. A lot of people do the 17 hours fasting and 7-hour window of eating, or they even do 18-6, 16-8. But what this does is it allows the body, you're fasting long enough to break down your fat cells into ketones. So ketosis occurs, and you're able to burn those fat cells during that time. And then when you eat, obviously you go back into the building phase when you start to build tissue is back up again. But I was fascinated by this autophagy process because we go our whole lives with never fasting. It's not part of our culture. It's not part of the American culture. It's not really part of a lot of even practicing religions nowadays. And I've been part of several very fundamental religions here in America. And I've known about fasting as a practice. Usually they make it a very private spiritual practice where it's between you and God or you and the divine source. And, I knew at least in the Christian faith, you're not really supposed to talk about it too much. It's supposed to be between you and God. And, whether you pray or you meditate or you take time for yourself to dwell, reflect, meditate, pray, all, on your own time. So I've never actually fasted, even though I've been involved in fundamental religion as growing up. Obviously, you guys know it was with the Westboro Baptist Church. But I've heard of it and I knew it existed, and I know other religions also participate in it. The Jewish faith does, Muslim faith, a lot of other religions around the world. So I was like, what is it about this? What's going to happen to the body? My nurse mind wanted to know, my fitness trainer mind wanted to know, like, am I going to break down all my muscle? Am I going to break down fat first? Does the body preserve muscle? And I had a lot of questions. And ironically, actually had Gary Brecker come on my show, which I'm gonna post that show very soon for you guys. I'm very excited to post all of that was about that. But I had asked him before doing my water fast if he highly recommended it. He's a human biologist and he's been studying the human body and all the processes and diseases and mortality rates for over 20 years. And he was saying that fasting, he was super excited. He's like, fasting is so good for the body. You're gonna have so many processes where it's going to heal naturally. And I thought that was pretty fascinating that, I come from a healthcare system where in nursing, we're constantly, the doctors and nurses are always studying pharmacology, which is the study of medications, and they just feed you more and more and more and more meds. And they're not always trying to help you have your body heal itself. And I even learned for myself, I was like, every medication has a side effect, a short-term, long-term. They interact with each other. They don't always do good things with the body, affecting the liver, the kidneys, this, that, the other. And I always kind of question that being the best line of defense, and especially when you don't know what's going on with the body. So when I talked to Gary Brackett, he was like, this is how you heal the body. When you fast, the autophagy process is happening and you get to heal itself on its own. So I'm going to tell you guys what happened. So I went into this thinking I'm going to do a 3-day fast. Me and my sister Grace, we made a pact together and we're like, you know what? She was like, I'm in for 3 days. I've heard some great things about how it's going to improve the body. Are you in on this with me? I'm like, absolutely. I'm a huge person that likes to take on a challenge, especially when it comes to anything related to health and fitness and well-being, and definitely preventative healthcare, just to know for myself, but also to be able to educate any of my clients and the people that are trying to learn how to take care of their bodies under my care. And I was like, I've got to know about this. And now I had a little bit experience because I've done ketogenic diet for on and off for 3 years. And during ketogenic, in order to get into ketosis, you have to fast. So a lot of times it is like maybe 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 hours of fasting. But usually I hadn't fasted for a full day or longer. So this is going to be challenging for me. But like I said, I put on the goal 3 days, 3 nights, we're going to eat. So when we started to get into this, now when you start to fast, there's a lot of things that start to go on. Obviously, you have a lot of time on your hands. So, throughout your day, even if you're not a big eater, you have at least 3-4 meals in front of you, or at least snacking times where you're reaching for the fridge, you're preparing something, you're going to the store, you're going to the restaurant, the cafe, whatever. You spend your time putting things in your body. Whether it's a coffee, a tea, a matcha, a snack, you're spending a large portion of your day around food, around getting the food, eating the food, preparing the food. And so I knew I wasn't going to have that, and I was going to have more time on my hands. So I was like, okay, I got to stay busy during this time. So I set aside, and I was like, I have certain books I'm going to read. I have, if I have enough energy, I'm going to do my workouts. I'm going to research the hell out of fasting because I have so much time on my hands, and I want to know what's going to be happening to my body while I'm going through this. And I didn't know, am I going to sustain energy? Am I going to have low, brain fog? I really didn't know what's going to happen. I've been low carb brain before for peak week on competition prep, and I felt like that's what I was going to feel like. Ironically, no. Depending on how keto adapted your body is, when you fast, your body will eventually go into ketosis. So it might take you 17 hours. It might take you a full day. It might take you a day and a half. It might even take you longer to start to get into ketosis, where your body, instead of using glucose or sugar for fuel, it's now going to use fat. Your fat cells break those down into sugar and now use that as fuel. So you can function perfectly fine without any food whatsoever. And I thought this was kind of fascinating because, we really don't do this in our lives. And we don't even expose ourselves to it. We don't even know what it feels like. So what did I do? I prepared myself with lots of waters. I had mineral water, electrolyte water, distilled water, every water you could imagine, because I wasn't sure if there was going to be a preference. Would I feel better? Could I avoid headaches with one? Avoid, maybe nausea? There's several symptoms you can get when you get what's called the keto flu. Keto flu is when your body's converting from glucose, which almost all of us eat carbs. So if you eat more than 30 grams of carbs a day, you're going to use glucose as your main source. Now, when you're converting from glucose to ketones, there's this process where you're going to feel weird. You're going to feel a little sluggish. You're going to feel a little, like carb addicted. You're going to like crave sweets all of a sudden. You're going to feel slow, brain fog, low mood, low energy for however long it takes to get into ketosis. It could be like a couple hours, it could be like a half a day, it could be several days, but usually no more than 3 days to get into ketosis. Keto flu you want to avoid by having water and electrolytes. And I looked up, and the best way to get your electrolytes in, it was pink Himalayan sea salt. So that's what I did. I stocked up on a bunch of pink Himalayan sea salt. I had one in my well, I guess I had one in the kitchen, several in the kitchen, one in my car, one in my purse. Like I never wanted to not have electrolytes, because when you get a headache and you can't eat or do anything to fix it, it's the worst thing ever. And I've always gotten really bad migraines over the years. So I'm like, I'm not going to get a migraine. And guess what? I did not get a single headache or migraine on my entire 7 days. That is fascinating to me, because I used to get migraines all the time for all kinds of reasons. I always thought it was related to food and things like that, but who knows? So my body was very efficient, apparently, at producing the ketones and breaking down the fats. So along this process, I kind of charted some things. I charted my weight, my waist, my energy. I journaled every single day. And I will say over the course of 7 days, I lost over 11 pounds, and I lost 2 to 3% of body fat. And I also lost 5 inches off my waist. Now, this is massive. I wasn't like having a ton of weight to lose off my waist to begin with. I started out around 24% body fat, and I went down to about 22%. So getting pretty lean, and 11 pounds in 7 days is a lot. Like that's just a lot. You might not even lose 11 pounds in like 6 to 8 to 9 to 10 weeks, working out hard and things like that. So I was pretty fascinated by that. And I was fascinated that my muscle mass did not reduce or change much at all. I was very much under the impression that if I starve myself, my body will break down my muscle tissue and convert it into glucose, and I'll start to atrophy my muscles. I'll get, my muscles won't be as full, and I thought that'd be a problem. So during the ketosis process, the body is very, very efficient at keeping your muscle preserved. And if you think about it back to the hunter-gatherer times, when we couldn't find food and we were in between our meals, we had to be able to have muscle mass to achieve that process, right? Whether we're hunting or bow and arrow or, setting a trap or picking some vegetables, whatever, we had to have energy. We had to have muscles. So our body's actually very efficient at preserving the muscle mass. Now, when I was researching this, people have done 21-day water fast, 30, 40-day water fast, and I was just blown away that there's this whole community of people out there that are able to do this for themselves. And so, like I said, I was still very, very, very intrigued. I like to take on a challenge, but I also like to know, like, is this even good for yourself? Like, are you starving yourself? Is this anorexia? Are you going to get a eating disorder? Like, there's a lot of information out there, and it's really difficult to tell. I've always, for the last probably 10 years, I've always tried to keep my protein intake super high so I don't lose my muscle mass, try to stay lean by keeping my protein intake high and eating the right macros and all this stuff. So it was interesting. So how did I feel along this diet? Now I was journaling, and I would say the first day was challenging, but not really that hard, because you just ate the night before, so you usually have this like massive big meal to make sure that your body's full of whatever energy, carbs, etc. And we started our fast in the evening, which I highly, highly recommend starting your fast in the evening, because then you don't have to go all day freaking out and go to bed super, super like hungry. You have your meal, at 6, 7, 8 o'clock. That's your cutoff. You stop it there. You start your fast, and then you go to sleep. And so that whole 10, 9, however many hours you sleep, you just slept off that. That's your fasting. That's part of your fasting window. You wake up, you see how you feel. Now, when you sleep, you do regenerate your cells. You know, it's a whole process of your body, you know, getting its energy back. And your energy doesn't just come from food. Your energy comes from ATP. It comes from your mitochondria. It comes from your cellular turnover. And when your cellular turnover is happening during your sleep, so you get to really rejuvenate. When you wake up in the morning, you'd be surprised you actually have energy. I did not think I would have energy not eating. And same thing, day 2. Now, day 2 and 3 are the most challenging days of all 7 days for me. I'd only ever done a couple fasts where I thought I was going to make it to day 3 and I only made it to day 2.5. And I didn't do the research before. So I highly recommend, if you're going to do a water fast, know your goal, know your purpose, do the research, and know what's going on with your body in terms of your hormones, because your body is trying to protect you. If your body thinks you're starving, it's trying to remind you, hey, by the way, you should probably eat. You're going to starve. So our hormones do this for us on day 2 and day 3. So there's a hormone called ghrelin, and it is a surge of hunger. It will actually make you feel hungry and say, hey, go eat, like you're freaking hungry. Now, the thing with hunger, which is very interesting, I don't know if they're equated, they're similar. Hunger and cravings, they're very different. And I was able to learn the difference on this fast. So the ghrelin will spike usually around about the time you're normally eating, because it remembers those cycles and that flow. And then as soon as you don't eat, 20, 30, 40 minutes, that window passes and it doesn't keep regenerating. Like, it doesn't build and build and build and get worse. It has like a wave and it goes away, which is really, really nice and convenient to know. You don't have to feel like you're hungry forever. It's going to pass. And you drink water, you drink seltzers. Basically, the only thing I could have on it was waters of any kind, no flavor. Like, I could not have any citric acid or any of this stuff in my anything that could break a fast. So apparently anything in your drinks that could spike an insulin, including stevia, erythritol, any type of sugar or substitute, you can't have any of that. So I don't even get to taste like a Diet Coke. You cannot have that. It will spike your insulin, and when your insulin gets spiked, even though your calories are not there, it will do the whole cascade of your digestive process, which means your body's not acting like it's fasting. It's not going to autophagy. You don't get the added benefits of the anti-aging. You don't get to all the cell turnover rates. Your body, when it's in autophagy, which I'm in it, after 17 hours, the body stays in autophagy until you break the fast. So if you're not eating and not spiking your insulin for 7 days, you got 7 days of cell turnover in your head to toe, pancreas, stomach, liver, muscles, like everything gets worked on. And the longer you go, the more cell turnover you get, which is an anti-aging process, literally reversing your age, which is super fascinating to me. My skin never looked better on this fast. It was glowing. I hadn't put any lotion on it. I was starving and just drinking water, and I don't know how it looked so good, but it was glowing and shining because my body was healing itself from the inside out, and I could feel it and I could see it. Now, you will feel a little tired. So day 2, expect that wave of ghrelin to get some hunger pains in there, and you're really going to have to fight it because you're going to want to eat. You're going to want to go to the fridge. You're going to see other people eating. You're going to see food advertisements on your phone, driving the car. People are eating. People are talking about eating. It's all around you. You'd be so surprised how it's everywhere. When you can't eat, it's so crazy. You have to avoid it. So I had all these things, right? I had my different flavored seltzers. I had no stevia or anything in it. It was just natural flavors plus carbonated water. I had my salt that I took everywhere with me. So if I ever got a craving where I needed flavor, I would just literally shake the salt in my mouth. And that's how I've kind of functioned. And I would keep that in my backpack and in my purse everywhere I went. And day 3, I also had some hunger pains. Now your body's still kind of, that ghrelin still kind of telling you, hey, you haven't eaten. Do you want to eat? We know that you're starving at this point. It's been 3 days since you've eaten. Now, I thought that was going to keep getting worse. Now, mind you, my first 3 days, I was like, okay, if I can make it to the 3rd day, that's all I wanted to do. But then I was like, wait a minute, I'm 3 days in. If I could go to 7 days, I'm halfway there. I'm almost halfway there. Now the amount of people that can make it to 7 days, it's drastically drops off after that. So I was like, if I'm halfway there, why would I want to make it this far and then break my fast when I'm not really starving? I'm just kind of craving things when I can get the full effect by just going for 3 more days. The time's going to pass regardless. I can just do this. Let me just do this. And then my thought process was, it's so much harder to restart a fast than it is to continue one. Now, this is very strange, and I don't know if you guys will understand, but like with any addiction, we really are addicted to our foods. We are like we crave it because we think about it. We got the taste buds. We know what it tastes like, but we're not actually hungry. When people are hungry, like, and they can't get a meal, that hunger comes and it passes. It comes and it passes, and their body will sustain itself for like 40 plus days. That's real hunger. Like your body is shredding down every single day. You're losing weight every single day. You're weak. You got to take naps throughout the day. Like that's hunger. I felt it. I felt hunger, and I also felt cravings. Cravings are different. Cravings are like, oh my God, I just saw someone eat a candy bar and I want it too. That's not hunger. I remember reading that. I watched so many vlogs on YouTube. Hunger is if you don't like raw cauliflower and all of a sudden you want to eat raw cauliflower, you're freaking hungry. You are hungry. You will eat a head of lettuce. You will eat a freaking pepper that you've never wanted to eat before. Hunger is you want something in your body, you need it because you haven't had it for so long. Cravings are the things that they just fill your body because you're addicted to foods. We're addicted to so many things that are in our foods, whether it's sweet, sour, hot, spicy, this, that, the other. So it was really fascinating to me to see that I had the self-discipline and the self-control to stave off actual cravings. And it also gave me the self-discipline to know that when I'm done with this fast, I can hold off on actual cravings because I know that they're just cravings. They're not my body actually needing it. You're going to survive just fine. You get to eat at the end of the day or wherever your fasting window, whenever your window opens up to eat. And if I just give into every craving, I'm going to be whatever weight I choose to keep eating at. If I want to be a different weight, I have the control and the ability to hold off cravings. And I know I can go much, much longer when it comes to hunger. And I can also reach autophagy if I do intend on fasting. So when I do stop eating, there's actually an added benefit. I'm anti-aging. I'm cleaning out my internal organs. I'm fighting cancer cells. I'm fighting autoimmune disorders. I'm reversing my age and my disease processes. Like that's so fascinating that in order to have self-discipline, in order to hold off on cravings and hold off on the addictions, you're giving yourself health and vitality and youth. That's amazing. You're literally healing the body from the inside out, and you don't have to pay anything. You actually save money because you're not eating. It's fascinating. So, okay, day 4. Okay, let's see. Day 4. Okay, so I went to bed hungry. I think I even had a breakdown on day 3. I wanted to make it to day 4 because I wanted the full 3 days, but I remember I went to bed pretty sad, pretty upset. I did take sleep aids to go to sleep. I've been taking Benadryl, one capsule every single night for a long time. I do suffer from insomnia at times, and I do not I do not recommend being hungry and having insomnia. That is a bad combination. So I did end up taking that just like I normally do, and it didn't affect my fasting or my insulin levels. My glucose stayed nice and normal. Same thing with my ketones. My ketones kept going up every single day. So when by day 4, I'm going like 0.8, 0.9. The next day, I'm like at 1 point something on day 5. Day 6 is going to 1.6. It continues to rise. So that's how you know you haven't broke your fast, because your ketones continue to rise. Your blood glucose stays stable, and you could just tell that your energy is it's like weak but stable. You know, you can do things though. Like I went skating on my day 3. I went for a run on day 4. I think I worked out. I can't remember all the workouts I did, but I did have like a mild activity each day of intensive, a mild moderate activity each day, and it was possible. And then if you get tired, you just take a nap. You wake up, it's fine. So I was very shocked by the stability of your energy. Your body will actually stabilize you, and it'll regulate what you need. If you need energy, it'll break down fat and give you that energy. If you don't, you'll kind of be like blah. So day 4, I think I had a freak out day 4. Yeah, day 4, I was like, that's it. I'm like halfway, but there's no way I can keep doing this. Like it's so hard. I'm so hungry. I feel like I'm missing out. I don't know if I could drink one more bottle of water, eat more ice. I mean, I was chomping on ice. Like there's only so many things you can do on a water fast. And, I had spent several, like periods of time where I was just trying to meditate, and I was just trying to pray, and I was looking for like certain life answers. And I will say, even on day 4, there were huge moments of clarity where my mind was so sharp that there was nothing clouding it with anything. Like, there is no time I've ever felt so sharp in my life. My mind was like working fast and efficient, but like no clutter. You know, when your mind's cluttered and you're anxious about everything and everything's kind of just like stressing you out. You have one thing coming in, you're racing, you're ruminating about this and you're ruminating. Like, my mind often works like that because I have ADHD and I have ruminating thoughts from trauma. It's just kind of how I operate. I'm kind of hyperactive. My mind was not doing that anymore for the first time in my entire life, day 4 and day 5. So even when I had these moments of like severe weakness where I was like, oh my God, I'm hungry. I don't know if I could do this. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling like defeated. I could pull myself out of it, and I would have these other chunks of time where there was just no worry. It was just like I could shut off the negative thoughts and they were done. And there was just these periods of time where I was literally like, I didn't worry about the future. I didn't worry about the past. I felt so incredibly present. I was just like, right here and right now, I'm healthy. I'm happy. I don't need anything. I don't want anything. Like, we're so busy needing and wanting everything, right? Like, what am I going to eat next? What am I going to do next? What's my next vacation? And what am I going to shop for? When am I going to lose weight? When am I going to get a boyfriend? You're always wanting something next. It's like you never just chill and just love what's going on right this second. I, for the first time, without even trying, felt like I was actively meditating in the present moment where I was like, I love the sky. I love myself. I love how I feel. I love how healthy I am. I love that I'm in this beautiful park. Like, I just felt so cheesy, but like loving and grateful and happy. I did this permanent cheesy smile on my face. And I was just like, this is so wonderful. Everything is so great. There's nothing wrong. There's no problem to solve. Like, everything's just perfect right now. And several huge chunks of my day, I felt like this. Day 4, and then again on day 5. Now, I did have that small little freak out, and I think that was more like my mind freaking out than it was my body. So I had to get that in control. Went to bed, woke up. Day 5, I actually felt better. I felt like my ketones were kept rising. They were up into like the 2.0 range. Now I'm in moderate to deep ketosis. My body's working super efficiently to give me energy right from my fat cells. I'm dropping weight every single day by several pounds. I'm dropping inches off my waist every single day. Like, this is insane. I'm barely moving around and I'm losing weight and losing inches. And yeah, it was fascinating with the sharpness of my mind, the fact that I didn't worry about anything anymore. You do need time if you want to be able to like take a nap. Like, you can't be working if you want to just like fall asleep in the middle of the day. But I will say it's very doable. It's a very amazing, astounding experience. I think every human has the ability to do this, but it would take some research, some planning. Always have all of your water and your electrolytes around you 24/7. Check your ketones, check your glucose, see where those things are at. First and foremost, before you go into anything, make sure that you're even healthy enough to do a fast, because, there are type 1 diabetics and people whose blood sugars are not as stable, or maybe they're not going to be adapted to ketosis, or maybe they don't even produce any insulin, or maybe they overproduce insulin. You really need to be careful with what you're getting into. But I didn't have a reason not to do this. I knew that my body would do well. I've done ketogenic before. My body did very, very well on that diet. So I feel like I could definitely do this again. Was it challenging? Absolutely. What's interesting was day 5, day 6, I kept starting to feel a little bit better because my ketones kept going up, and they will start getting up because your body realizes you haven't found food, so it's trying to sustain you. Now, when I got to day 6 and 7, I was like, I could keep going. It was the weirdest thing ever. I was freaking out at day 2, 3, and 4. Day 7, I'm like, I see why people do 14-day fasts. I see why people do 21-day fasts. Because when you're at that level, all of your hunger hormones dissipate. It's no longer telling you to eat. Yes, you have cravings and you see foods. They pass within 10 minutes, and you can get over it. And usually if you throw back some bubbly, you're good for a minute. But it was fascinating to me that I no longer cared about food. Like, by day 7, I was just kind of like, I don't need it. I actually went to my daughter's parent-teacher conference with like I'll make sure I get on time. With like spaghetti in front of me, there was like warm chocolate chip cookies. There was just like, I mean, it's not even my favorite meal, but at that point, everything's your favorite meal. Everything looks amazing to you. So you're like, oh my God, spaghetti, cookies, ah. And I watched everybody at the table eat. I didn't feel like a ravenous dog. I wasn't like slobbering on myself. I was just like, oh, okay. Everybody's eating and I'm not. And it just felt so normal and natural and calm. And I didn't feel like a spastic like addict that was like tweaking out over it. I just was like, oh, this is where I'm at. And I'm feel super calm and confident because I'm on my journey, which is my fasting journey. I have discipline. I have calmness. I have control of my body. My body is actually functioning for me. I don't actually need to eat. I don't feel the need to eat, and I can keep going. There was this level of pride and compassion for myself, and I knew that I was inspiring other people too, because people would ask me like, how are you not eating? Like, are you going crazy? I'm like, no, I there was moments where I had a lot of weakness, but then there's been these amazing pivotal epiphany moments where I've never felt so grateful in my life for my life and my present moment and my health and my ability to have abundant food. Like when you don't eat and you purposely deprive yourself of eating, you understand how freaking abundant our lives in America are. We have access to every food you could possibly imagine, and especially in Vegas, 24/7. You anywhere you go, you can order it. Uber Eats, you drive to the drive-through, you throw a cat and you hit food. Like it's food everywhere. You can't get away from it. And it's just so fascinating to me that there are people going days and weeks without even seeing food, having access to it. They don't have a choice on what food they get. They don't know when it's coming next. They don't get to season it the way they like. That's a reality for people all the time. So I've never really thought of hunger that way before because I have so much abundance my whole life that I was like, wow, like we really are so incredibly spoiled, rotten with all the food that we have, every flavor. Do you want your ice cream like in balls or do you want it in squares? Do you want it on top of your thing? Do you want more food on it? Do you want more like candies on it? Do you need more shit on your food? Like it's just so much food. And I was like, oh my gosh, we not only feel grateful, but I feel grateful to have the discipline and that I'm exercising that discipline for my health's sake, maybe as a role model to my daughter, maybe as a role model to any of my clients who are struggling with food addictions themselves, that they've been battling them their whole lives, that they really can do it and it really is good for them. And they might even develop pride and discipline and happiness and gratitude. And then when you go to eat and you do get to enjoy the froyo that has a million flavors of cookies and sprinkles on top, you can just revel in that moment, have gratitude, and then move on instead of feeling like you never have enough. And the other thing that happened on day 7 when I finally got to eat, I've been planning all week what I was going to eat. Like I had a grocery list. Me and Grace were back and forth like, what are you going to eat? This is what I'm going to eat. What do you want to eat? Like sending each other memes about food. We're sending each other recipes. I signed up for Blue Apron. I had all these like concocted ideas of how to cook food when I get to eat. And, finally day 7 comes and, you have to break your fast in a certain way because if you've gone 7 days without eating, your stomach shrinks. Your whole digestive process has slowed down to preserve itself and you have to slowly reintroduce foods. You can't just like slam some pizzas back with throw it back with some ice cream and some pizzas. You have to start with broth and like healthy soup and like easily digestible things that have like fiber, and don't rush to grab processed food that your body's not used to. Your gut has been healing itself for a while. Like that sludge is completely out. By the end of 7 days, you're pooping out water. There's nothing left in your system. You are completely clean. Your pipes are clean. And all that inflammation that's been going on in there for years is now clean. And your microbiome in your gut now gets to reheal itself and rebalance itself so you can reintroduce like probiotics and things to make sure your bacteria is back to normal. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to get in for as well is I was having extreme bloating issues that I could not resolve. And even though I train really hard and I try to follow diets, I was looking 3-4 months pregnant, like out of nowhere all the time because of my bloating. So I knew that my gut, my microbiome, the bacteria in there, those levels were out of order and they were expanding with certain foods, and I probably was putting some trashy foods in there. Lots of like, processed foods and stuff, instead of putting things with more fiber, more dense, easier to digest with the digestive enzymes. But anyways, when I restarted my meals, the first thing was acai bowl, because did research that fruits are very, very, very good for your body. You get the minerals, the vitamins, the flavor, and there's zero negative stuff in it. It's just all healthy fruits. So I started with an acai bowl, which I ate very, very slowly. I was like mindful to not like get some crazy reaction. I did really well, and I wanted to eat more, but I was like, you're going to hold down. You're going to slowly reintroduce food. So I really had to consciously tell myself, wait an hour after your acai, see what you feel. Got home, I had prepared myself this nice homemade chicken soup, which was just like broth and shredded chicken, and I had some avocado diced in there, some onions, some little vegetables, but it was very simple. That was taste amazing. Of course, everything tastes amazing. And it was just feel gentle in the stomach, and I was just so happy to have like some substance. And, slowly as the night wore on, I was having a little bit more things, but broke my fast in the evenings, so really didn't have a whole lot of time to eat before bed. But yeah, I found myself like, okay, maybe I'll have like a little chocolate. Me and Grace made these like almond flour. Was it almond flour? Yes, almond flour cookies. So like homemade keto cookies, so we could kind of like stay with the ketogenic, the way our bodies were processing things, and it was in ketosis. So we're trying to kind of stay clean, not bloat ourselves with all this like heavy complex carbs, and we did it that way. That was delicious. And, we had the rest of the weekend to just like slowly reintroduce foods. It was so freaking amazing. I think once I touched the acai bowl just to my mouth, I was so grateful. Like I started almost crying, because I was like, oh my God, like my taste buds were like amplified. When you don't eat for a really long time, I don't know if it's the rejuvenating of them or that's just the fact that you've been deprived. Everything tastes so much 10 times more fruitful and flavorful and amazing and delicious. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so thankful for food and for life and for health and for abundance. And I got very emotional. And so it just felt so awesome to have a reset, a total reset, right? Like a reset for my body, a reset for my gut, a reset for my mind. Like I was able to go into spaces of total mental clarity and appreciation, gratitude. I was able to be disciplined. There was just so many positive aspects that I did not feel like. Before I went into this fast, I thought I was just going to be hard and piss me off. Like I'm going to be hangry for 7 days. Meh. And yeah, there were moments where you're irritable, but surprisingly, I don't know if God made it this way or not, but you're tired enough that you can't be too angry, if that makes any sense. Like you're just weak enough to just be like, I'm kind of upset, but I can't really be too upset because I'm tired. You're like a bitch that doesn't have any energy. She's just like, eh. It's like, I don't even know. It's so funny because I remember thinking, oh, every time I actually get hangry at my husband, because he doesn't get hangry, he's just like, you're such a, you're so angry. And I have energy, right? Because I've been eating. But when you're bitchy and you haven't eaten, you're just like, I'm sad. I'm going to go take a nap. And you're all weak and cute about it, And that's just how I felt like it was. And because Dave was taking pictures of me, and Grace's boyfriend Morel was taking pictures of her, and he was like sending it in the group chat of like us being tortured, not eating. And Grace is just like, like she had this little like mad face, and it was so cute. Because how can you not relate to that? Everybody would feel that way, right? So, but it was a humbling experience, because it just didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. It went better, way, way better. And I've learned so much about myself and my body, and that I can do this. And I even researched that there's fasting facilities where you can go to if you have an actual ailment, a huge disease, or maybe a beginning of a disease. You can go and fast your way out of it. Like, how freaking fascinating is that? You don't have to plague your body with a ton of toxins that you don't even know what the toxins are going to do to you. You don't even know what the original cause of your ailment is. But maybe you have cancer. Maybe you have a autoimmune disorder. There's this beautiful fasting facility in Arizona. I think it might have been Sedona. I saw 4 to 6 weeks you can fast, and they give you like electrolytes, IVs. They have this whole, like, all these therapeutic arts you can do while you're there. So while you're not eating, you can ride horses and paint pictures and do yoga and practice all these, happy things you can do when you're not eating, and they help you get through whatever you're going through, and you purge the bad stuff out of your body and you re-heal your cells. Like, it's so amazing. And you get to be there with a support group of people doing it. And I don't know, it's just fascinating. And it opened this whole world for me. And obviously there's a spiritual aspect too. I felt very connected to God. I felt very connected to being spiritual and not being fleshly, not being so obsessed with what Lauren feels and wants right now. I felt like everything's exactly where it needs to be. You are exactly where you need to be in your learning journey, in your trauma journey, in your healing journey, in your mom journey. Like, I just felt so at peace with it and happy with how far I've come, and thankful and praying for more guidance on what I need to learn and do and grow. And it just felt very connected space. Like, I felt like I was happy with everyone. I was forgiving of everyone. It felt really, really pivotal, transformational. So would I do one again? Absolutely. I'm actually going into doing intermittent fasting now, just for health purposes, but also my weight loss, because I see that fasting was really, really effective at getting the weight off and keeping it off. And I'm already very active, so I do have to have a strategy on how to kind of keep it off. Now that I get older, my metabolism is slowing down a little bit. So I'll be doing kind of the 16-8 or 18-6 window. So trying to go like 16 hours of no eating. That starts from overnight until the middle of the day. So somewhere around 2 or 3 o'clock, I eat my first meal, and I can eat all the way up until like 8 or 9 o'clock. And then you go to sleep. So it's very effective for my lifestyle. I get to eat with my daughter, my husband, cook nice meals, and you kind of get to eat what you want in that window, which is really fun. So if you, instead of having this crazy diet where everything is regimented and measured out and you can only eat these type of foods and these foods are terrible and bad for you, with intermittent fasting, you have the ability to open the window up to everything, which is kind of cool. So you give yourself discipline in the beginning of the day, and you give yourself pleasure at the end of the day. So that's what I'll be trialing out. So I'll keep you guys posted on how that's working out. But I just highly, highly recommend even a 2-day, 1-day fast, 2-day fast, 3-day fast to get started if you're looking to improve your health. And if you are able to, if your body could handle going to ketosis, if your body can handle and is able to produce its own insulin and regulate your own blood sugar healthily. I checked my vitals throughout. I was very stable. I drank water the whole time. And you do have to have electrolytes, guys. Please use pink Himalayan sea salt, because it will stabilize everything. It has every electrolyte you need: potassium, magnesium, sodium, all of it's in there. It comes direct from nature, and you'd be surprised that your body functions. It's made to heal itself. Like, how cool is that? So anyways, that was my little journey. I hope it was somewhat entertaining or informative or helpful to you guys. And I will keep you guys posted on the intermittent fasting journey. I'm not following ketogenic right now. I'm basically eating any foods that I want during that window. I have had friends and people that have been successful with that and sharing their journey. And I will tell you, with the bloat, fascinating enough, I've been taking probiotics about 30 minutes before I eat twice a day, and I've had no bloating. So ever since I stopped fasting. So it's been, what is it? Today is Tuesday. I started eating on Friday. So it's been about, a few days since I've been eating again. And I haven't had any bloating. And usually I have bloat every single day. So we're hoping that the microbiome is growing back healthy and even. And I'm actually having a very, moderate, healthy microbiome. So I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or any challenges for me, I won't be doing 7 days anytime soon, but I do think I'll be doing 2 to 3 days probably in the next few months. So stay tuned, and thank you guys all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.